Do you want to read perhaps the greatest mystery ever written in the Bible? If so, you need to understand Hebrew. Don't worry, I will do this for you. And acrostics. Acrostics are not anything new. They have been around for many thousands of years, yet we still use them today. Here are a couple of the most widely used. Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD, Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth, Bible, Keep It Simple Stupid, KISS. An acrostic is a composition set up in a sentence, verse, or phrase in which the first letter of each word forms another word or phrase. An acrostic is not the same as an acronym. It is similar but not the same. An acronym is using the first letters of several words to form an abbreviation on the words. The abbreviation does not necessarily spell another word, as would be the case with an acrostic. An example of an acronym would be National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA. As soon as possible, ASAP, Personal Identification Number, PIN. The Jewish people were always looking for acrostics through the Hebrew scriptures. They were very cautious of making sure that words did not cause a situation in which the name of God was written, spoken, or otherwise used in vain. In fact, the Bible clearly tells us the name of God when Moses asked. It was given as 4 simple Hebrew letters, YHVH. However, this name is forbidden to be spoken among Jewish people. Jewish writings have replaced the name of God in the scriptures with Adonai, meaning Lord, and Hashem, meaning the name, because they reverence the name of God so much. We learn of a Jewish acrostic in the Gospels that reveals the greatest mystery ever written in the Bible. But before we get to that, let's sidetrack a minute. If you have ever been Catholic in your life, you know what a crucifix is. And if you know what a crucifix is, then you are familiar with the 4 letters that are always posted atop the crucifix, INRI. Because the Catholic Church is so steeped in the Latin language, they choose to use the INRI acrostic over the crucified image of Jesus. Really, this INRI as an acrostic means nothing. It is just 4 Latin letters that when pulled together do not mean anything special. However, the meaning in English is this: Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. In Latin this would be written and said this way: Iesus Nazarenus, Rex Judaeorum. When you take the first letter of each word, this is where the INRI comes from. So even the Catholic or Latin people made an acrostic out of the phrase, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. Though the acrostic has no meaning, but what we need to see is the Hebrew version of this acrostic and find out just what the Jewish people saw when they read this phrase in the Hebrew language. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross, and the writing was, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. This title then read many of the Jews, for the place where Jesus was crucified was nigh to the city, and it was written in Hebrew and Greek and Latin. Then said the chief priests of the Jews to Pilate, Write not, the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am King of the Jews. Pilate answered, What I have written, I have written. John 19:19-22. The Jewish people, when reading that phrase, did what they always do: look for the hidden acrostic meaning. When they did, they saw more than 4 simple letters like the Latin acrostic INRI. What they saw was so powerful that they wanted Pilate to change the wording so that the acrostic would no longer spell out what they were seeing. As I stated before, the name of God in the Bible is so holy that the Jewish people never will say nor write the name. Instead, they will use the word Adonai or Hashem as reverence from saying the name of God. The name of God that I am talking about is Jehovah in English, or the original Hebrew, Yahweh. The name Yahweh is simply 4 letters. Those 4 letters are Yod, He, Vav, He, or YHVH. When the phrase Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews was written in Hebrew and placed above the head of the crucified Jesus, it read, Yeshua HaNazareh Vehamelech HaYehudim. The Jewish people noticed the acrostic, YHVH. When they saw this, they were terrified. They wanted Pilate to change what was written, because if they had been able to replace the words, it would have removed the amazing acrostic that was on display. As the Jewish people stood there looking at a suffering Jesus being crucified on that cross, and the standard plaque that was placed over the head of the crucified would name the person on that cross, they saw the name of God, the forbidden name that is so holy they would never say it nor write it. It was as if God himself was hanging on that cross being crucified for all of mankind. And you know what? He was, YHVH, Yahweh, was on that cross in the person of Jesus the Christ.